Hello, I'm Jeff Van Treese, and this is Mobilized News. We welcome you to our show. As our guest today is Ed Gemmell. Ed recently launched the new Climate Party in the United Kingdom. And we've also known Ed because we had him on about a year ago because he is the managing director for Scientists Warning Europe. So, Ed, thank you so much for joining us today.
Great to be with you, Jeff. It's nice to be back.
So let's just start out with what your mission is in starting this new party. You know, coming up to COP27. So we've now on the 27th annual climate change summit from the United Nations, and we've had 26 of them, and not a whole lot has been done. So where do you think we are in the international coalition to fight climate change, and what do you think your party can do in terms of getting involved in that?
Starting on the international side of it, we've had 26 COPs now, and we pretty much ended up with a lack of action around the world, and it's not going to change at COP27. So we're not getting the level of international action we need to solve the climate crisis. The Paris Accord that was signed 7 years ago was at the time a big compromise at the time. It was based on data at the time that's been updated such that there are more carbon emissions going on all the time, and the reason for us rushing towards decarbonisation has become even more urgent. And at the same time, we've had governments giving their NDCs, their nationally determined contributions, so their voluntary proposals for what they're going to do on carbon emissions, and in many cases they've not followed them. So we're in a very bad state internationally. That then has led to where can we get the best action? And for those of us that are based in any country around the world, it's often in our own country. So together with a lot of other supporters, mentors, and other people involved, we've launched the Climate Party. And the whole point is to focus on the situation in the UK, where although the UK is often mentioned internationally as actually being a leader, it's leading on completely the wrong pace. Often those in power don't quite understand what pace we need to be leading at, and we need to up the game enormously. From the point of view of the science, we've been talking about 2050 net zero in the UK. It is absolutely clear that 2050 net zero will not cut it. Scientists Warning Europe, as you mentioned, in my day job, has written 3 times to the Prime Minister in the UK open letters, in which in each case it has recommended 2030 as the target that may keep us safe from climate change. And that's based on the carbon emissions going into the atmosphere, the urgency with which we need to bring them back before we go past our carbon budget for 1.5 degrees. And that carbon budget for 1.5 degrees will be shot in 2028 based on the last IPCC report. So in 2028, based on what the IPCC is saying, we'd have to turn off the lights, shut down all the factories in 2028. Otherwise, we're going to go past 1.5 degrees. And between 1.5 and 2 degrees, we risk losing a lot of the global tipping points. There's been a lot of talk about that in scientific papers recently, and that's extremely dangerous with an unraveling of the climate crisis. But in addition, particularly on a national basis, there is the opportunity to grab the moment. So businesses worldwide, but particularly in the UK, where there's a lot of action on eco-tech and eco-finance, they want to get a target that they can aim at and grab the leadership. And from a British point of view, if we can go for a decarbonisation of the UK economy by 2030, that allows businesses to scale, to come in and get working on it. And the UK would be the leader in eco-tech by 2030. It would be a leader in eco-finance. The city would have had to develop vast numbers of financial instruments to get the trillions of pounds or dollars to finance that decarbonisation. And we'd also be a leader in social innovation, whether that's localization of energy resources or efficiencies and a whole lot of other factors. And we would be able to then be selling that to the rest of the world, who could effectively be buying it off the shelf.